there was one moment where I was sitting in the headmaster's office and he turned around to me and said, look, you're either going to go to prison or you're going to be a millionaire. That's what he said to me. And at that point I had in my mind that I wanted to go, and I knew I was so passionate, I needed to channel that energy into something positive.
Hi everybody and welcome to FEBE Founder Stories. I'm John and I got Ollie Carson. How you doing, my friend?
Hi John, pleasure to be here.
Dude, you are looking sharp. You look amazing. Nice and tanned, ridiculously handsome too.
Appreciate
Obviously
that.
made an effort, we appreciate it.
Always for you, mate, that's it.
Listen, it's awesome to have you here. Huge congratulations for being the Growth 100. I mean, you're only 30 years of age, right? I mean, sorry to make it sound like you're so young, but you are young. You've only just turned 30.
Yeah, that's correct.
Many congratulations on turning 30.
Thanks.
Anyway, so Universal Partners, that's the company that you founded. How many years ago are we talking now?
It was founded back in 2017, so
okay,
just over 7 years old in March.
So you were 22, 23 when you started the business?
I was 23 when I started the business by 1 month.
Would you describe it as rocket growth ever since, or did it start steadily and then that growth has kind of come in the last 3 or 4 years? What's the kind of growth projection been?
To be honest with you, since day one, it's just been rocket growth.
Was it?
Just hyper growth. I think I'm a firm believer of you get out what you put in. And since we founded the business, we've always had that mentality that, you've got to put the work ethic in to get the results out. And we've really just had momentum growth since the start.
Yeah, wicked. Right, I came to your office at Canary Wharf.
You did, you have been there,
Beautiful office. I mean, the view, it's unreal, isn't it? The situation, where it is, location is just absolutely fantastic. There was a real vibe. So we'll come into that later because you could tell there was a real tangibility to the culture. There was excitement. And I'm someone who loves excitement. So when I came to your office, you could really feel it and I loved it. And you've also been, as I said, we'll come into it later, but you've been recognised in the Sunday Times. What do they call it, the Sunday Times?
Best places to work. Yeah, top 100, 2024.
Hats off, mate, because that is a great achievement.
Yeah, it's brilliant now to always have at the back of your mind, like putting your staff first and creating a culture and environment where they can kind of thrive, develop, grow.
What I loved about hearing your story, yours was a great story of proper hustle and just, you clearly were an entrepreneur from a very young age, right? What was your first hustle? How old were you?
Well, when my entrepreneurial side really come out, I think I was about 10.
Was it? What did you do?
I started selling conkers at school. Yeah, I did. Yeah, and then I moved on to selling sweets.
How'd you sell conkers when conkers fall so much from the tree?
Because I used to put holes for people used to pay them. I used to sell them for £1 and you'd go and pick them up, and my nan used to take me down there, and so I started selling conkers.
Ollie, take us back to the start, and that's a really good place to go before we kind of get to the kind of when the entrepreneurial flair really came out. It wasn't easy growing up, was it?
No, it really wasn't, and I had a very difficult life as a child. It was very broken. My mum and dad split up at a very young age. My mum did some things that I didn't actually agree with.
Yeah.
I then, I moved around loads of different areas. I went to 4 different schools.
Yeah.
This is before I even completed school.
Why 4? What was it like?
Well, I just moved areas, where my mum was in that kind of different relationships. It was we kind of moved in, and I didn't get the chance to see my dad for a long part of that of my childhood, which was even more tough. Because you have a lot of questions, but you don't really realise as a child what the answers are till you grow up, and then you have the opportunity to actually speak. And I've got a great relationship with my dad, but you realise a lot of things that you didn't know the answers to at a young age. So I realised very quickly that anything that I wanted in the world, that no one was going to give it to me. There was no handouts.
No.
My dad's a great guy, but he's not motivated by money. He works at BT. He's worked at BT for 30 years. As an engineer, he's a really, really good person.
You say he's an awesome. When you describe, you say so much respect for him. Haven't you?
So much respect for him, and he's he's very good. He's a very good dad, and he's very, very emotionally intelligent. And he can help out in so many ways. But he's not really fully motivated by the monetary side. So, and my mum hasn't been in my life. She made the decision not to be in my life from the age of about 15 upwards. So I've never had a relationship with her. So back to the point of I had to go out there if I wanted things, and I had to find a way of getting it myself.
What made you want it?
I didn't like the ability of people telling me that I couldn't have things.
Right.
I didn't like that. I didn't like and I thought, well, you see other people with things, and kids used to come in school with like the new trainers and things that and the other. And then,
why can't I have them?
Yeah, that's what I used to think. And I was like, well, just because you've got them doesn't mean I can't get them, and I'll find a way of being able to be able to do that. So, from the age of 10, I started selling conkers at school, sweets, I moved on to sweets, and then at 13, 14, I then started my own consumer electronics business on eBay. I started importing things from China at 13. I had like laser pens and stuff like that, which I was selling on eBay. Yeah. And then, so I went, after school, I realised that education wasn't really for me, and I found out that
and I guess this was successful. You're making a few.
I was making a lot of money at that age. like for a child, I was making a lot of money at that point. And then
so that meant when people came with the trainings, blah blah blah, you were like, really, you could get what you wanted because you're making your money.
Well, this is actually a true story, and this is the only reason I went to college for 1 year. Is that everyone in the area that I grew up in, it was like Billericay in Essex, right? So everyone's kind of close knit there, and they get on well. It's a really good school, and most people.
Is that near the Sugar Hut?
Mesa, it's Brentwood. It's a little bit not far from where Brentwood is. Yeah. Okay. but okay. So everyone decided, really, most people, that they wanted to stay at sixth form. But the way I looked at it was, I wanted to go to college, and this is the only reason why I went to college, was because in my sixth form there was 500 people, like it was school, and in college there was 2,000. So I saw it as an opportunity to have a 4 times bigger market to sell things to. So that's the reason.
This is the import business with electronics.
No, this was just I started importing everything. Like loads. It wasn't just that. It was like
so
stuff.
This was a bigger market share.
Yeah,
so,
I was selling
genius
headphones and all sorts. Right. So I went to college, and then at the time, my mum said, well, I'm not going to take you to college every day because it's like 20 miles. So I said, fine. So I saved up, and I spent £2,000. I went and bought a brand new moped so I could drive to college every day when I was 16. So,
brilliant.
So as I was saying, my journey really went after school. Everyone found out about this. I found out about the Apprentice, the TV programme.
Yeah.
Well, there's a junior one many years ago, and everyone was like, Oliver, look, you've got to apply for that. So I said, okay, fine, let's do it. So long story short, I applied, and I made it down to the last 25 candidates out of 15,000 interviews, which was over like a 2-day process. And it was like knockout stages, like really challenging, but it was a great experience. So I did that, and then when I was in college for a year, I was like, look, this isn't for me. I need to get out there, I need to start making money. And then I found out about Dragon's Den, Peter Jones. He started his own Entrepreneur Enterprise Academy, and it's more of mainstream now. It's still a great course, and wouldn't recommend it more to any young person that wants to actually get full insight into business and how to start a business and things like that. So, but the year that I did it was the first year that he founded this course. It was linked to a college, and there was only 100 slots nationally on this course. So I turned up, and it was like, right, Oliver, literally, this is what the guy who was in charge of the local area where I went to, and he's like, look, I've had 1,000 people apply, I've got 20 slots. And then I just sold myself so much to him because I was so passionate I wanted to do this course. And I got onto the course, and it's an amazing course. All you did for a year, you was in the classroom maybe 1-2 days a week, was go to trade shows, business conferences, public speaking events. And then I graduated got qualification in Entrepreneur and Enterprise. I met Peter Jones at the time, and that was a phenomenal experience. And that course, it really starts...
Sounds like it was absolutely brilliant in terms of learning the essential skills that you need to be a great business person.
That's what it was. You had to start like your own mini business. So it had all the modules of like what's required, like to start that business. So it was a brilliant course. And then I graduated that, and that's when I really identified like what I wanted to do.
What I want to talk to you is about your experience of working for someone else before you then decided you want to work for be your own boss. At school, did anybody ever identify this talent in you? What did your teachers make of you? What did they say to you?
For me, I wasn't the best behaved child at school.
A bit naughty?
Yeah, I was very naughty at school. And I've only really reflected and realised at a later stage that the reason for that was because obviously I had a very unstable environment outside of that. And there's no stability, and that's why I kind of...
Did it create anger, resentment?
Yeah, there was a lot of anger. There's a lot of anger because there's a lot of things that happened, and you don't know, and you don't get... Well, imagine someone took you away from your dad for like 3-4 years. And that's what it was like.
Awful.
And then you're told that, doesn't care about you and things like this, and it's like...
It's not true, obviously.
It's not actually true. So, quite a bit of anger, but there was there was one moment where I was sitting in the headmaster's office, and he turned around to me and said, look, you're either going to go to prison or you're going to be a millionaire. That's what he said to me. And at that point, I had in my mind that I wanted to go, and I knew I was so passionate, I needed to channel that energy into something positive and prove to people that I was going to do it.
Was that a moment, Ollie?
It was a moment, yeah, because it's kind of stuck with me all these years on as well. You have these kind of points that you can reference back and anchor to.
Yeah.
And
you made that decision, right? I think I know which one I am going to be.
Yeah, I made that decision. I made that decision that, I was going to get my head down, and I was going to start channeling that energy into productive things to better my life.
Brilliant. So take me to your first job then. What did you learn from that? What did it galvanise you into what you've created now, and the kind of business person you are now, and the entrepreneur, the leader of, and the fact you love culture so much? Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I think that for like any founder or entrepreneur, it's like it's difficult to go into a market if you don't know the market, right? Without other expertise or capital, right? So, like when I first got my job, I was new to the industry. I put the hours in, and I was fortunate. And I use the word fortunate because I learned a hell of a lot at that place of employment, right? And that's what I learned. I learned a lot of ways how I personally wouldn't want to be treated. So when you're on the other end of it, there's no better way to learn unless you've gone through it yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's key.
This is why I've got so much respect for what you've done. It's not like you took a book of business with you. You had to basically pick up the phone and call and call. It takes me back to the Wolf of Wall Street video, not comparing to, but when basically Leonardo DiCaprio, he's on the phone and he's, people are listening to him because he's having to build the book of business. But you had to do that, didn't you? You had to pick up that phone and bang.
Literally, when my business partner and I founded Universal Partners, we were cold calling. We were cold calling from my living room in Leon Sea, overlooking the sea, and we were bringing on business. And we built. We've done phenomenally well in a very short space of time, and then that then allowed us to move into Canary Wharf, get service offices, start growing, and now if we actually fast forward just over 7 years, we've got just under an 8,000 square foot dealing floor, just under 100 people. We're on track to turn over just underneath 2 billion, in the next 12 months. So we've had phenomenal growth, and it's amazing to reflect on how far we've come.
Well, let's reflect on that. But the question I got is, because I want to learn from this myself, and I think a lot of people would want to learn from this. When you're calling up with, you're sitting on a table in your house, right, and you haven't, probably it's just you and your business partner. That's it in terms of people you got. You probably haven't got a glitzy website at this point. How are you convincing people to give you a shot?
I think, and I actually use this in a way. So I've been managing staff. I've been fortunate. I've been managing staff now for over 10 years, and training staff and sales staff as well included. I think it comes down to what FEBE is all about, and what it's all about. It's people buying to people. It's relationships. It's getting people to believe that you are going to add value to them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And this is what I say to everybody within the business and in our business development team. If you're making a promise to a customer, you need to deliver on that promise. Your word is your bond, is what my granddad would say, and I still believe in a lot of them old school principle. We are going to work 110% behind your business to add value, and this is how we're going to do it, right? And when you do that and you portray yourself in the first way, and in that light, people buy people, and 70% of any sale or in any business, any industry, I believe 70% of it is the individual, the people buying that people. And the other 10, 15%, in my opinion, is your product. And the other 10, 15% is the company. in the company that you're at.
So I've just learned something wicked from you there, which is if you believe with every inch of your heart and your soul what you're selling, and you are determined you're going to deliver and promise, you're going to bring people with you. And as long as you always 100% deliver that, that's the start of how you start to get the wheels going.
Exactly, and you have to also though know what you're talking about. You have to be an expert at that field, right? Because
and that's what you learned in your previous job. That's where you learned the trade.
Exactly. I mean, like the customers that we deal with now are founders, CEOs, managing directors, finance directors. They're very intelligent people. They're in businesses that turn over on average £10 million plus minimum. Some of our clients turn over billions of pounds a year. So they're in senior positions, and if you're not an expert and you know what you're talking about, they will pick that up. That's one thing that we really do differently, is we really invest, we really upskill, we really train, and every single person that actually is dealing with a customer, they have 5-10 years experience. Some of them are qualified with certain financial regulation exams, etc. So, it's important that you know what you're talking about as well.
Yeah, 100%. In terms of the growth of the business, right? Hence the growth of 100. What has the journey been like? You say 100 people. You talk about, the office is big. Ain't smooth, is it? Never is. What have kind of been the biggest things you've learnt from being on such a growth journey, and maybe some of the banana skins or things that you'd probably want people to look out for from your experience?
So things that I could pass on to others, other advice. I say my advice to other people in a similar position to me on a similar journey would be don't spread yourself too thin.
Yeah.
If you're going through exponential growth, fast growth, it's very easy to get caught up in loads of different projects, right? So there was one point where we must have had 100 plus different projects that we were trying to work on.
Really?
And I think what my advice would be is that you need to focus and channel that resource into projects that are going to help generate future revenue opportunities, and channel resource more independently on and make sure that priority list, you're always constantly reviewing it, because when you scale as well, when you bring more people in, that's actually to the next part. Part B of that question is how I would answer it is, you've got to understand when to bring the right people into the business. I'm very fortunate now where we've kind of headhunted some extremely experienced executives. Now I've got a solid C-suite team, and on hindsight, if I could have brought them in, say 6-12 months prior, I would have seen the results quicker. So I would definitely advise, learn when to get the people in, bring the right people in that also are aligned with your internal core values and principles, and that they're going to help add to that internal culture. Is
there anything in terms of advice, talking about meeting more experienced people or people that have been there, done it, etc.? Is there anything that really stands out to you in terms of something you've been told that really stuck in your head?
Advice, yeah, great. One bit of advice, the best bit of advice I've received would be to treat everyone how you want to be treated.
Really?
Yeah, I think, because...
You've really taken that to your heart?
Yeah, I have, and I think that it shows why we've got so many incredible people in the business, and so many incredible people that have stayed in the business, right?
Because you're proud of that, aren't you, the retention?
Yeah, I am, and just because, as a CEO, co-founder of Universal Partners, it doesn't make me above any other individual in that company.
Yeah.
And I have that same mentality outside of work as well. I think karma is a real thing. Treat everyone with respect, and people will respect you. Great leaders lead by example. They are extremely approachable. Just over 10 years ago, I couldn't even afford to get the train fare to London on my first job. I had to borrow money off my nan. I was £4,000 or £5,000 in debt. I had people telling me, "You can't do this. You're crazy. Why are you walking away when you're starting a company? Why are you walking away from only an X amount of money per year?" And you got to try and remember them roots, and I try and reflect and remember that to kind of keep me grounded from the start.
It's a big question. Why would you step away? Because you were doing really well in that job, weren't you? Why? I know we've covered it, but what is that juicy reason?
The juicy moment for me was the fact that there's an element of that. I identified a niche in the market, right, and having an opportunity to get 3-4 years experience in a sector, speaking to multiple different businesses, and identifying that there is a big problem that's missing, that these companies are facing. You know, they're not receiving the service that they should receive. They need to receive. They haven't got the right strategy in place. You know, there's other companies out there that don't actually understand their customers. They're just reactive. They're just waiting, you know, clients to call them when they need to move £1 million into dollars. Whereas what we do differently at Universal Partners is that we understand every single one of our clients. They're all different. They all have different financial objectives. They all have different business risks. They all have different risk appetites. And what we do is identify and tailor strategies to really help mitigate these business risks and add value. When you add that in, when you add and you bolt on, you know, exceptional service and really long-standing relationships, you're going to work, you're going to be there when they need you to be there. And that even means, you know, a lot of our portfolio managers, we deal in currency, right? So there's different time zones. And when the UK market's shut, the US market's open. When the US market's shut, you know, Asia's open. The only time it's shut is the weekend, right? Yeah. So sometimes you actually get the best opportunities in the markets that are outside UK hours.
Right.
So if we're working on a large transaction for a customer in the tens of millions, you know, or we will, if that market moves 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, we'll call the clients.
Really?
You know, and we'll help them with the entry points, because how we present it to our customers and what we say to them is that we are an extension of their finance team at the end of the day, and we want to be seen as that. And we're always willing to, and every single portfolio manager has the same mentality as that, and that's what we do, and that's kind of how part of the reason why we've got to where we have.
What do you think are some of the key things that have created a great culture in your place? Because you have the badge to prove that, you know, this isn't just talk.
That's a great question, actually. It's like the secret sauce, isn't it, in that culture. So I identified early on, and we, you know, business partner and I sat there, and we identified that what our core principles are as individuals, right? And then we made a decision that every person that we were going to bring into the business has to have these 5 core principles aligned. And since then, it hasn't proven wrong, right? And what them 5 key principles are, and I'm more than happy to share them. I know you probably want to hear them. Is the first one is work ethic, is hard work. You know, it's everything that I've personally been about, and what we've been about since we've set this business up is about putting that work and putting that effort in. You know, if you do work twice as hard as your competitors, you're going to get twice the results, as long as you've got an intellectual approach with that, okay? Yeah. So work ethics it's always been key, and we always want people to, we don't even need to ask anymore, they're just willing to do it, because it'll lead on to the third one in a minute. But so the first one's hard work. The second one is transparency. You know, every single person has a level of integrity in the business, with not just them individually, but with each other. You know, you've got to be transparent, you've got to let people know what's going on. And they need to let themselves know, you know, each other know what's going on, because at the end of the day, if you want to create a client-centric and a people-centric business, then that is exactly what we are. There needs to be unity, right? Which leads on to the third one, actually, which is collaboration. You have to be open to working in a team, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. A lot of people would have heard that saying, and I'm a firm believer of it, right? You have to create a culture where people are working in unity.
So Mavericks to you then, no good for the culture?
As in, independently?
As in people who, you know, they may be amazing at their jobs, but if they're not prepared to literally bring everyone with them, that's going to be detrimental to your culture.
Yeah. Third principle is collaboration.
So we've got hard work, we've got unity, we've got collaboration.
Transparency. Yeah, and then we've got loyalty.
Okay.
Right, and loyalty is a really key one, because we invest in every single employee in the business. Right, there's never been once, and I actually had this conversation only yesterday, but I had another person in my compliance onboarding team that wanted to do an additional qualification. You know, never once has the company not funded a staff member doing a qualification that's going to help that individual progress And of course, if they have more knowledge, more experience, they're going to provide better. They're going to perform better in their role.
And of course,
help the company.
Some people may think, but Ollie, what if they go and leave? You're thinking it doesn't matter. Because look, if they stay brilliant and with your retention statistics, the chances are they're going to stay, but you're not letting that reason stop you from investing in them. And that's what I think is so commendable. Because I think some organisations would say, we're not going to do that because the risk is they'll go. You're saying it could happen. Chances are it won't, but if it happens, it happens. At the end of the day, what matters to us is investing in that person, making them better at their better. Yeah.
Exactly
Love
that. And if, for example,
that.
If that person does leave, and we haven't really had a lot of people leave the business, I'm very fortunate to be in that position. But if that person then potentially left, then they probably weren't the right person in the business anyway, because we want people that are going to be buying into the vision of us becoming one of the leading cross-border payment businesses globally. Yeah. And everybody
leading or number one, Ollie?
Number one, of course. no,
I don't like the word leading. I know you. It's number one, mate. It's number one.
Number one. That's why we always invest into them individuals, and we'll constantly maintain that ethos.
So that's number 4, loyalty. What's the fifth?
Number 5, key one again, reflection.
Okay, that's interesting. What do you mean?
And reflection's important because a lot of working environments, they come in, they're in their lane, and if they make a mistake, they don't like talking about their mistakes. Not a lot of people like talking about their mistakes, right? And you've even capitalised on the mistakes, and you've really kind of brought a group of people together through FEBE.
The fuck ups.
The FEBE fuck ups, and that's remarkable, like getting.
So reflection for you is the ability for people to go, I made a mistake, and they think about it, they talk about it, they share about it, because ultimately they've got to learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. But not just them. Is that it gives, if you create an environment where people feel safe to talk about their mistakes, is that everybody learns from that mistake, not just once. So sometimes some mistakes cost money, right? Yeah. And you'd rather one person make a mistake that costs £10,000 than 5 people make the same mistake. So by having an environment where people can talk openly and they're not afraid, it also allows you to upgrade the processes, review that, reflect on it, and learn and progress and prevent that from happening to other people.
Mega. Well, on that note then, you alluded to the fact, just for people watching, the fuck-ups is we bring a load of the FEBE gang together. It's like an open mic night. You get 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, to talk about your biggest mistakes, what you learnt from it. And the reason being to actually be a little bit more American and less British. The British mentality, the British culture is to sweep it under the rug. Whereas, as we know in America, it's very much you shout about it, you talk about it, because it's all part of the journey to succeeding. What has been your biggest fuck-up?
My biggest mistake that I've made today was hiring an individual that went against them 5 principles. And I put commercials over internal culture. Right. And this person, I hired them, brought them into the business, and they started producing revenue. But what happened after that was it upset so many people. Really? Yeah, and that to
the way they did business, the way they what was it? Just the style?
It was a bit of a mixture of everything.
It wasn't collaborative. It wasn't,
Yeah, it was a lot of egotistical stuff in there, and that's not what Universal Partners is all about. It actually came to the point, is like you've been in the business, you've felt it. When you walk onto our dealing floor, you can feel the energy. Every single person, a lot of friends working together. Yeah, and everyone wants everybody else to succeed. And you feel that. So we made the decision to exit that person out of the business, despite the fact that they were producing revenue, because
for a lot of people that gives them sleepless nights having to do that. Was that the same for you? Was that just a horrible experience to have to do?
Well, of course, because it goes back to the point of like where I didn't actually come from money at all, right? Yeah. And one of the main drivers for me, ever since I was 10 years old, was to go out there and make money and become financially free. But then what I actually realised during that process, upon reflecting, which I tried to stick to my principles and follow them, is that I reflected and I realised that actually, 50%, that was only 50% of it for me. Now, I actually had money and I'm in a position where, I have got, where I'm more financially free. I realised that the other 50% that drives me now is actually coming in to an environment and working with good, genuine, hard-working people that want to collaborate and progress and help these individuals progress in their lives and, give something back.
You're talking about a young lady in your team. It's almost, you're saying, he said it was so funny how it came out. The timing was brilliant. It was like, she makes more money than you do. You were just so, you were so excited about that.
It's true. Yeah,
because,
it's true.
you know, it was a young person who was amazing at their job, and they're just smashing it. And the excitement and just, I guess, yeah, what is it that it gives you from seeing that?
Well,
pride, isn't it?
Massive amounts of pride. And I think that's one of the great things about, you know, being a founder is having the opportunity to really give back.
Yeah.
And we started an FX Academy 5 years ago internally. And what we do is we bring people out of school, college, university, we give them 10 to 12 hours training per week. We fully employ them during that process. It's a 12 to 24 month period. And we teach them everything. We teach them about financial markets. We teach them about business development.
You're saying how to write an email, how to...
Everything. Exactly, every single thing.
How to communicate, because that is the biggest thing and the most important thing.
That is, and that is my saying, is that if you ask me what is the most important skill in this world, and I would say it's communication.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% is communication. So we teach them how to communicate. You know, we'll even invest into these individuals to go on to do some exams if they need to do, or whatever, to further progress and develop. And then at the other end of that, they come out, they graduate, and they have the opportunity then to go and build successful careers, you know, stay within the business and build successful careers. And we have so many people that have gone through that academy now that are now in senior management positions in the business.
What I found so inspiring about your story, and ever since I've met you, is where this comes from. Because you've had to understate it, but you had a really tough time growing up as a kid, didn't you?
Definitely,
It was pretty vile. Yeah?
I would totally agree with you on that, yeah.
But it has absolutely made you, hasn't it, in terms of who you are today, how you treat people, and for me, the ambition it's given you to create something that you have. Would you agree with that? Does it literally come on what you've been through, which has brought you to this place today?
I think it's definitely shaped who I am, because I had no choice but to grow up very, very, very young. And
so emotionally, you had to develop far quicker than you were supposed to.
So much quicker, you know. And it's a prime example how my C-suite team, some of them have 30 years experience, right? I'm 30 years old. I started this company when I was 23, and these people have to look up for you to leadership, right? And buy into you, and they wouldn't come and join the business if they didn't respect me and respect my business partner as well.
Who's only 3 years older than you, right?
He's 33 as well, right?
So you're both really young.
We're both really young.
Yeah.
So back to the original question of like, yes, I think it definitely gave me a lot of motivation, because everybody always told me from a young age that you can't do this. You've got to go.
You're not going to make it.
Down that road. Yeah, you're not going to make it. And
you can't have those
everyone
traits.
doubted me. Everyone always doubted me, and you know, got in a lot of trouble when I was younger as well. And it was like, and I wanted to prove to the world and everybody else that I could do it. And I always knew. My nan actually said, this is quite funny. My nan says to me now, right? She says, look, I used to ask you what you was going to do when you was younger. And I was about maybe 10, 11 when I first answered this question. And I used to answer it saying, well, Nan, I'm going to be a millionaire. That's at 10, 11 years old. She said there was always something that was not right with you, or like you're different, you know, in a certain way.
Because you meant it.
Because I meant it. I believed it at that young.
Oliver, this is the first for us as well, that not only you're in the Growth 100 this year, but we were so fortunate and blessed when you said to us, you know, I love what you're doing, and you know, we want to be an official partner in this as well. So it's kind of very exciting to be doing what we're going to be doing for the next, you know, for how long we do it for. It's going to be so great to be working with you, because you've really inspired me ever since I've met you. I'm so grateful that you shared your story today, and I can't wait to see you become the number one. You know, you said the word leader. Let's get rid of that word right now. You're going to be the biggest. You're going to be the number one, and mate, you really deserve it. So thanks a million for coming today.
Really appreciate that. That's great. Yeah.